So good day everyone. I'm Rochinmei A. Amayak, your first demonstrator or reporter for today. At this moment of time, I will introduce first the learning outcomes. Number 1, differentiate between regionalization and globalization. Number 2, identify the factors leading to a greater integration of the ASEAN region. Analyze how different Asian states confront the challenges of globalization and regionalization. So, these are the following learning outcomes in this lesson for today. But first, I'm gonna ask you what comes in your mind when you encounter or see this photo? How it relate to ASEAN regionalism? Asian regionalism. It is the continent of only in the continent of Asia. So Asia is the largest and most populated continent in the world. Geographically, it is separated from the European continent by the Urals, from Africa by the Suez Canal, from the North America by the Bering Strait. It is comprised of distinct regions such as Central Asia, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. So, what is Asian regionalism? So, now we will discuss what is regionalism. Regionalism is a strengthened collective identity in a conglomerate of nations occupying a particular geographic area of aiming at shared goals, increase in economic exchange in particular area. So kapag sinasabi dito na yung regionalism, ito yung pagsama-sama ng mga grupo ng mga bansa na magkakatabi, magkakapitbahay kung saan nasa iisang bahagi ng mundo. Iisa ang kinalalagyang geographic area at ang main objective nito ay mapabuti ang ekonomiya and to have the same goals. So, sinasabi dito ang regionalism, yung pagsama-sama ng mga magkakapitbahay ng mga bansa. So, tinutukoy dito yung mga bansang napabilang sa Asia. Amidst globalization, another phenomenon is becoming more apparent, regionalism. So, kapag nga sa globalization, nagkakaroon ng pagkakaisa, yung mga nagkakaroon ng pag-unlad ang mga bansa, how much more yung mga bansang magkakalapit lang. So nagkakaroon din ng nagkakaroon din ng pagkakaisa yung mga magkakatabing bansa, lalo na yung mga bansang napabilang sa Asia. So even though we say that the world is interconnected, pero yung mga bansa na nasa particular regions ay lumalakas din ang kanilang pakikipag-ugnayan, samahan sa trade man or kahit ano pa. Emergence of regional cooperation among countries to achieve political and economic goals. Countries have become more open to collaborate with other countries in terms of economic and human development. Interaction. So, kapag in terms naman sa human development, for example, tayong mga Pilipino, pwede tayo or maaaring makapag-aral tayo sa ibang bansa, lalo na sa Asian nations, yung bansang nasa kapabilang sa Asia. So how does regionalism differ from regionalization? So regionalization, it is an increase in the economic growth of countries within a region that develops through societally driven processes such as markets, trade, and investments. while regionalism is the political will to create a formal arrangement among countries in a region. So basically, in regionalism, their goal here is to increase their political power and influence in other regions. While sa regionalization naman is the division of a nation into states or provinces. Nag-form ng regional organization. So they form regional organization as a way of coping with the challenges of globalization. When we say Asian regionalism, it is a product of economic interaction between Asian countries. So, Asian economies have grown not only richer but also closer together. Kapag naririnig nyo ang ASEAN, yung grupo ng mga bansang kapabilang sa Asia, so yung ASEAN. So, ASEAN economies have grown not only richer but closer together. So, yun na, nagkakaroon ng pag-uugnayan in terms of economics. So, there is unity in the diversity. Masasabi natin na sa Asian nations or ASEAN or Southeast Asian nation, nagkakaroon ng unity in terms of kahit may diversity.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. My name is Lornette May de Vera, and I am one of the reporters about the topic of World of Regions, Asian Regionalism. My topic is about the aims and the purposes of ASEAN. What is ASEAN? ASEAN is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It was established on August 8, 1967 in Bangkok, Thailand. So here are the aims and the purposes of ASEAN. First is to accelerate the economic growth, social progress, and the cultural development in the region. So to accelerate the economic growth, they need to strengthen the foundation for a prosperous and peaceful nation. The region must exert effort in the spirit of equality and partnership. Second is to promote regional peace and stability through abiding respect for justice and the rule of law and the relationship among countries. To promote active collaboration and mutual assistance on matters of common interest in the economic, social, cultural, technical, scientific, and administrative fields. Next is to provide assistance to each other in the form of training and research facilities in the educational, professional, technical, and administrative. So this means that they will support one another through or by providing training and research facilities in the educational and professional administration. Next is to collaborate more effectively for the greater utilization of agriculture and industries. The expansion of the trade, including the study of the problem of international commodity trade, the improvement of transportation and communication facilities, and the raising of the living standard of the people. So meaning they will work together effectively to increase agricultural and industrial trade expansion, and it will improve the people's living standard. Next is to promote Southeast Asian studies and to maintain close and beneficial cooperation with existing and international and regional organizations with similar aims and purposes. It means they maintain the beneficial cooperation with similar goals and objectives. Okay, for the next topic about Asian regionalism, what are its challenges? So first, I will define what is Asian regionalism. So Asian regionalism is the product of economy or economic interaction. It is a growing relevance to the political economy of Asian Pacific. It is a type-down region building involving intergovernmental collaboration. So Hong Kong, China, Republic of Korea, Singapore are some examples of the countries with a partnership for shared prosperity like free trade areas, common markets, and economic union. So what are the challenges of Asian regionalism? Both regionalization and regionalism main goal is to develop the nation's economy. So the first challenges of the Asian regionalism is threatened strategic partnership with countries from other regions. So possible, they would not able to meet or it would be difficult to keep the objectives over the time, perhaps because of poor resource allocation. Next is the exclusion of other countries that do not belong in the region. Compromise financial stability of some nation, depending credit crisis, weak currency. Just like what I've mentioned earlier, it is because of poor resource allocation. In a particular place, the status or the standard of living of the people is not the same all the time, so it would be unfair. Next is climate change might rapidly affect the region over time. So it would affect the environment. So if maapektuhan, of course, it would result to rapidly changes sa economic policies due to lack of budget and currency sa particular nga country or places. Lastly is the threats on health and security of the country might make the flow of people and goods more expensive and difficult. So it is also connected to the climate change. So day by day, almost all of our daily needs are rising. So for example, dito sa atin ngayon, as of today, the price of the fuel has already risen. Many people are affected, especially those whose occupation is subsistence. So despite of the challenges, how can regionalism help Asia grow as a region? According to the Asian Development Bank 2008, Asia may be able to address the challenges of regionalism by first, linking the competitive strengths of the diverse economies to boost productivity and to sustain the region's growth. Connect the region's capital market to enhance financial stability. So it helps to sustain the region's growth. It increases the effectiveness of the local government. It gives the betterment of the entire area to benefit to each local. So through mass media, television, and newspaper, pwede ma-promote ang product para mabaligya in a different countries in a different pricing. Second is cooperating in setting exchange rate and macroeconomic policies in order to minimize the effect of global and regional shock. So meaning they will work together to create exchange rate and macroeconomic policies that will reduce the impact of the global and regional shocks. Next is pooling the region's foreign exchange, creating regional mechanism to manage cross-border health, safety, and environmental issue better. Okay, so for this one, the regionalism will help the region to develop a unique system to effectively manage the cross-borders. So lastly is exercising leadership in global decision-making, building connected infrastructure, and collaborate on inclusive development. So they are exercising and building leadership and connect each other to sustain the open global trade and reduce the inequalities within across or across the economies.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jessa Jara Madarada, and today we will tackle about the factors that may hinder the integration of Asian region. First is the absence of non-political platform to maintain peace and stability among countries. It hinders the integration of Asian region because the absence of non-political platform will grow the threat of terrorism, radicalism, and violent extremism and the danger it poses to the Asian region. Second is the lack of interregional trade or liberalization of trade in the region. Without interregional trade, it will be difficult to offer possibilities to leverage and extend comparative advantage in ways not accessible through national programs. It will also be hard to offer particularly significant benefits to the region's landlocked and small island economies. It will also be hard for the countries that are open to international trade to tend to grow faster, innovate, improve productivity, and provide higher income and more opportunities for their people. Third is the insufficient support to promote economic growth, social progress, and cultural development in the region. Insufficient support for economic growth may slow the increase in living standards. Inequality may become more noticeable to those on lower incomes. And the last factor is the lack of communication and cooperation in Asian countries through media. Communication is necessary for individuals to express themselves and fulfill basic needs. The same holds true for businesses, governments, and countries. Without the ability to communicate and understand each other, there would be chaos. Let us now look at example on how Philippines experienced regionalization and regionalism as an example in 2019. The Japanese government, through its aid arm, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, committed to support various rail infrastructure projects of the Philippines through Official Development Assistance or ODA loans, which carry low interest rates. This will help ease up the serious traffic problems in highly congested areas such as Metro Manila. Now, let's take a look at the Philippine-Indonesia relationship. Through ASEAN, the relationship between the two countries grows stronger over the years. They have supported foreign policies concerning the region such as on the issues related to democracy and maritime law. Both countries established an embassy in the other country's capital in 1949. Through the help of ASEAN, Philippines and Indonesia have been trading goods. For example, the Philippines coal export to Indonesia was worth $1.12 billion in 2003, which increased to $2.9 in 2009, then $3.89 billion in 2010, making the Philippines the biggest supplier of coal in Indonesia. And that's all. Thank you.
Before proceeding to the next topic for today's discussion, let me introduce myself first. I'm Jerome Sitaganile, your assigned reporter on the topic about the difference between regionalization and globalization. When you hear the words regionalization and globalization, what comes first into your mind? Well, let's get to discover and know the difference of these words. When we say regionalization, it is a process of dividing an area into smaller segments called regions. We all know that the world is divided not just into 7 continents but also regions. So what are regions? Regions refers to a group of countries that are located in the same geographical area. Let's say, for example, the countries of Thailand, India, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, and 43 other countries are located within the geographical area of Asia, which could be considered as a region aside from it is the largest continent in the world. In regionalization also, the countries from a specific region help each other for their development. On the other hand, globalization is a worldwide integration along economic, political, social, and cultural lines. In globalization also, countries across the world help each other for their development. To further understand this concept, let's examine this example of regional organization and international or global organization. In regional organization, we have what we call ASEAN or the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. While in international or global organization, we have what we call the UN or the United Nations. Both organizations aim to promote social progress, increase economic growth, promote cultural development, and aims to create a harmonious relationship with each other. But what makes it different is that the organization called ASEAN is concerned only with Asian countries, specifically Southeast Asian countries, while the United Nations is concerned about the different countries across the globe or across the world. So kumbaga sa news pa, we have what we call regional news and international news. Regional news is concerned only on the events within that specific region, while international news is ang mga significant events or happenings internationally or globally. And same lang ang concept ana between sa regionalization and globalization. Now let's proceed to when did globalization start in Asia? Accordingly, it was all started when first, the Portuguese invasion of Malacca in 1511. The invasion of Malacca happened when the governor of Portuguese, Afonso de Albuquerque, I hope I pronounced it correctly, conquered the city of Malacca during the 15th day of August 1511. Second, the arrival of Ferdinand Magellan in the Philippines in 1521. Nearly 500 years ago, when Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan explored and arrived at the Philippines in March 1521. Accordingly, this is one of the manifestations of globalization in Asia, maybe because of some significant discoveries that contribute to the globalization that we are experiencing today. Third, the consolidation of power by the British in South Asia, Burma, and the Malay Peninsula. And lastly, the French took control over Indochina in the late 19th century. Lastly, let's talk about the challenges of globalization. Below are the major challenges that policy actors may face during the process of globalization towards a social foreign policy with Asia in 1998. So first challenge we have, it will require a lot of time for our countries to receive the benefits of globalization. It is really important to ensure that the benefits of globalization will really extend to all the different countries across the world. But that will not happen automatically. Let's say, for example, in terms of technology. In other countries like the US and China, they are more advanced when it comes to technology compared to other countries like the Philippines. And that proves that the benefits of globalization really requires a lot of time for all countries to receive. Second, globalization leads to instability. It may be because of the changes or various factors that could affect globalization that will lead to instability. Labor requirements are one thing. Third is there will be an increase in global competition that will lead inexorably to a race to bottom in wages, labor rights, employment practices, and environment. And lastly, in globalization, all of the problems, issues related to it may arise, but it should not be used as an excuse to avoid searching for new ways that will benefit the overall interest of the countries and people.